My husband divorced me. I married his girlfriend. I lost a lot of work.
Opening up about personal struggles takes time, and that's okay. Hollywood icon Sharon Stone, known for Basic Instinct and Casino, is no exception. She endured a stressful marriage, a messy divorce, and life-threatening health issues. Yet, she remained silent until 2 decades after her divorce from Phil Bronstein. On a podcast, Stone revealed how a near-fatal stroke, media scrutiny, and court drama, combined with her ex-husband's neglect and infidelity, led to their marriage's collapse. But that shocking courtroom moment was just part of a bigger story, one that started long before fame and heartbreak. Before the media frenzy and health battles, Sharon Stone was a young woman with big dreams, driven by resilience, ambition, and the pursuit of success. Early days and a promising union. Sharon Stone was born and raised in Pennsylvania. Growing up, she learned the value of hard work and faced many challenges along the way. Even as a child, despite a humble upbringing, she showed a strong desire to succeed. Like any young person, she spent long hours studying and practicing, dreaming of one day appearing on the screen. Her ambitious spirit and perseverance later drove her to stardom. After years of dedication, Sharon Stone finally received her breakthrough. Her role in Basic Instinct captured attention, and her life changed forever. The film was a turning point in her career, as her great performance made her a household name. Soon after, she starred in Casino, which further established her as a leading actress in Hollywood. These films transformed her public image and opened doors to opportunities that many could only dream of. At the height of her rising career, Sharon Stone met Phil Bronstein. Phil was a respected journalist and editor known for his fearless reporting and work as a war correspondent. His career was built on delivering hard facts and confronting difficult truths, a great contrast to the glamorous world of Hollywood in which Sharon thrived. Despite their different backgrounds, there was a spark. As always, love wins no matter what. Their union was celebrated and was the talk of the town at that moment. Stone was a celebrity, so the talk was obvious. People described them as a couple who complemented each other, balancing glamour and grit. As their relationship deepened, the desire to build a family grew stronger. Among the many attempts, Sharon Stone endured multiple miscarriages due to an autoimmune condition and endometriosis. The losses left her with a deep longing to experience motherhood. Determined to fill the void, Sharon and Phil decided to adopt a child. In 2000, they welcomed their son, Rowan Joseph Bronstein, into their lives. Their son brought hope and joy to that family. In those early days, the couple appeared to have built a promising life together. Their marriage was marked with love and mutual respect from each other. They always supported each other, as it should be in any union. While all these could be seen in them, their marriage was already at the edge, something that was known only between them. The balance between Sharon Stone's acting career and Phil Bronstein's demanding work of journalism seemed complicated. These were some of the many issues that started to bring their marriage to its knees. From the outside, they seemed like the perfect power couple, but behind closed doors, cracks were already forming. The weight of their demanding careers slowly pushed their marriage to the edge until the unspoken struggles became impossible to ignore. The growing strains and private turmoil. As the years went by, the pressures of Hollywood and the constant demands of high-profile journalism started to weigh heavily on their marriage. Sharon Stone, who had previously enjoyed a successful career, found herself facing changing trends in the film industry. The roles that had once brought her acclaim became less common, and the attention she had received began to wane. At the same time, Phil Bronstein's behavior began to cast a dark shadow over their marriage. He began to be away from home more frequently. Rumors started spreading that he was finding comfort in the company of other women. She has spoken about how painful it was to witness her husband change during the worst moments of her life. "He did not see me, did not speak to me, did not look at me as if I mattered," she later recalled. Those were the moments she needed him the most. What happened to the vows they made at the altar? Phil was expected to be a source of strength for his wife. However, during those tough moments, his focus shifted away from their family. Stone had to fight alone. The neglect was made worse by a growing pattern of infidelity. Reports indicated that during the years of her vulnerability, Phil was often seen with other women whose names became fodder for tabloid gossip. This betrayal hurt Stone deeply. She felt that the man she had trusted was now more interested in proving his desirability than in offering support. Two people who loved each other unconditionally grew distant. Sharon Stone found herself spending many evenings alone, contemplating the loss of the close bond they once nurtured. Her attempts to reclaim her identity and continue her career were met with challenges, deepening her sense of abandonment. Friends later observed that although the couple maintained a good image of a united family at public events, their private life was worsening day by day. Their marriage was slowly dying. Phil's actions during those years only amplified the growing divide. His frequent outings with new companions were widely reported, showing a lack of commitment to their marriage. While Sharon faced the challenges of a fading career and health setbacks, Phil was living a lifestyle filled with many romantic interests. This created constant tension that slowly eroded the foundation of their relationship. Over time, the effects of these became evident. Eventually, the burden of these growing strains became impossible to bear. The isolation, the public shame, and the constant reminders of betrayal built up over the years left Sharon Stone feeling empty. She realized that the once hopeful promise of their union had faded into a painful reality that none of them could mend. This marked the beginning of an inevitable divorce, a catastrophic health crisis. In September 2001, Sharon Stone had a near-death experience. Her life almost stopped in an instant. One normal day at her San Francisco home, she was struck by a sudden, excruciating pain in her head. "I felt as though a lightning bolt had struck me," she later recounted. Within moments, she lost consciousness and was rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, doctors ran several tests. Initial examinations, including a CT scan, failed to show any clear evidence of a problem. As hours passed by, her condition worsened. The situation grew so dire that doctors decided to perform a second CT angiogram. This time, the scan revealed she had suffered a ruptured vertebral artery, which led to a massive brain hemorrhage. Doctors began treating her immediately to save her life. For 9 long days, Stone lay in a hospital bed with only a 1% chance of survival. Her condition was critical. The physical impact of the stroke was devastating. In just days, she lost nearly 18% of her body mass, and her mobility was severely compromised. Simple actions like walking, speaking, and even writing her name became monumental challenges. The stroke not only shattered her body, but also decimated her career momentum. Roles that once celebrated her talent and beauty were no longer forthcoming. The industry, unkind as it often is, moved on quickly. The aftermath of the stroke was compounded by the lack of proper rehabilitation programs. There was no structured program to help me regain my strength, no one to guide me in the recovery of my speech and mobility, Stone said in an interview. This isolation during recovery further deepened the emotional chasm between her and Phil. While she fought for every small victory in the hospital, Phil's attention was often diverted toward new acquaintances and extramarital relationships. The physical crisis was, in many ways, a precursor to the emotional collapse that would soon follow. The custody battle and court trauma. As Sharon struggled to regain her health, the already strained marriage began to crumble under the weight of personal and professional losses. In 2003, Phil Bronstein filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. This legal separation set in motion a bitter custody battle over their adopted son, Rowan. The custody trial lasted for several months, with court sessions in San Francisco. For Phil, the argument was centered on providing a stable home. The court drama that ensued was both shocking and heartbreaking. In one of the most infamous moments of the trial, the presiding judge directed a question at young Rowan that would haunt Stone for years. "Do you know your mother makes sex movies?" the judge reportedly asked, using a detail from Stone's role in Basic Instinct as evidence of her supposed unsuitability as a parent. This degrading question reduced a complicated personal history to a single scandalous moment. The court had turned to humiliate Stone before her son, who looked up to her. That aside, how could a judge ask a small child such a question? Were they in their right senses? There is no doubt that that question disturbed that child's thoughts. He might not have opened up about it, but it had an impact on him. It was such an insensitive question to ask a child. Stone's recollection of that moment is searingly clear. "I will never forget the judge's words," she later stated. "Hearing my child repeat that question was the most degrading experience of my life. It was as if every sacrifice I had made was immediately dismissed." The testimony, replete with bitter exchanges and deeply personal accusations, painted a picture of a woman who was unfairly judged not by her character, but by her past film choices. The custody proceedings continued relentlessly. Phil's lawyer argued that his household offered a stable environment for Rowan, while Stone's lawyer maintained that her struggles following the stroke should not dictate her ability to care for her child. In the end, the court awarded full custody to Phil in 2008, a decision Sharon Stone describes as the final blow. Even as she fought for every right in her recovery, the judicial system appeared to conspire against her by using her film history as a proxy for her failings. As the legal battle continued, more details emerged that further showed the betrayal she felt. Tabloids revealed that during the trial, references were made to the fact that Phil had flaunted his new girlfriends in public. "I heard that he paraded his relationships as if I were nothing more than a footnote," Sharon Stone later said. The pain and betrayal she felt in her heart was too much to bear. From silent endurance to a breaking point, the weight of betrayal had become unbearable. But Sharon Stone wasn't just another Hollywood scandal. She was a woman fighting for her dignity, her health, and her truth. And when she finally spoke, the world listened. The breaking point and the final confession. After years of hidden suffering and public humiliation, Sharon Stone finally reached a breaking point. She had taken time to process the trauma she had gone through and heal from it. In a recent long-form podcast with a respected entertainment outlet, she detailed the exact sequence of events that forced her to end her marriage. "I had been fighting for my life literally while my husband was busy chasing after someone else," she declared. The pain she felt could still be felt in her words. In that podcast, Stone recounted how, during her worst moments in the hospital, she felt utterly alone. "I was in the hospital with a 1% chance of surviving, and the only person I needed was my partner by my side," she said. Instead, she describes a scenario in which Phil's attention was elsewhere. He did not see me. He did not care. I was reduced to a state of helplessness while he looked for validation in the arms of other women. This final confession leaves no doubt that continuous neglect, infidelity, and emotional abandonment were the primary reasons behind the divorce. Stone also revisited that unforgettable moment. That question in court, "Do you know your mother makes sex movies?" was the peak of years of injustice, she stated. It was a cold, calculated attempt to use my past, my art against me in the most personal way possible. This statement, delivered without any preamble or attempt at softening the blow, confirms that her divorce was not an impulsive decision, but the inevitable result of a long history of mistreatment. Furthermore, she addressed the financial devastation that followed her stroke. "I lost everything, my savings, my career, my dignity," she said. Phil's apathy during that time was the final nail in the coffin. "I was left destitute and alone, forced to pick up the pieces of a life that had been systematically dismantled." Every word of her confession showed the profound betrayal she experienced at a time when she was at her most vulnerable. Stone did not mince words about the personal cost of the divorce. She detailed how the relentless media scrutiny and the use of her film roles as evidence in the custody battle compounded her pain. "They took my choices on screen, my expression, and turned them into weapons against me," she recalled. "I was not just divorced, I was publicly shamed." These stark admissions paint a picture of a woman who was forced to endure not only the collapse of her marriage, but also an ongoing campaign to undermine her reputation as a mother and as a person. From the courtroom to the tabloids, Sharon Stone had been dissected, judged, and humiliated. But after 21 years, she wasn't holding back anymore. This time, the truth was hers to tell, raw, unfiltered, and impossible to ignore. The truth. The confession from Sharon Stone after 21 long years proves the uncompromising truth of her experience. In that podcast, every detail was laid bare without any attempt to sugarcoat the reality. "I chose to be true to myself," she said. Her words cannot be ruled as full of regret or remorse. Instead, they were factual accounts of events that led to her divorce. You would probably do the same if you were put in her shoes. No one wants to be humiliated and disrespected. Absolutely no one. Stone's story covers every painful aspect of her ordeal. From the moment of her near-death stroke that left her fighting for survival to the gradual disintegration of her marriage under the weight of public scandal and personal neglect, every step is explained. She stated that the turning point was not a single event, but a series of betrayals that piled up over time. "Every time I looked for comfort, I found only emptiness," she stated. "Every sign that I needed help was met with apathy. Every gesture of support was replaced by a new rumor or scandal." One of the most searing parts of her story remains that degrading question. Stone recalled it exactly. When the judge asked, "Do you know your mother makes sex movies?" It felt as if my entire identity was being stripped away in front of my child. There is no attempt to justify or explain away that moment. It is presented as the harsh truth of how the legal system chose to judge her, not on her merits as a person or a mother, but solely based on her career choices. This moment, along with the public display of her ex-husband's infidelities, is what ultimately forced her to say, "Enough." Throughout her confession, Stone provides a thorough account of the betrayal. She explains that while she was in the hospital, clinging to life with every ounce of strength, Phil was busy forming new relationships. "I heard that he paraded his girlfriends in public as if I were nothing more than an inconvenience," she said. he needed to prove that I was replaceable. Such revelations are not meant to cast blame solely on him. They are a factual recounting of events that left her with no choice but to end the marriage. Every painful memory is laid out as evidence of continuous failure, a failure by a partner, by a system that uses personal history as ammunition, and by an industry that values image over humanity. Stone's final words in the confession are an unvarnished statement of fact. "I divorced because I had no support when I needed it the most," she said. "I divorced because my husband's actions left me with nothing. I divorced because the truth was that I was fighting a battle alone, and no one was there to help me." There is a rawness in her tone, a finality that leaves no room for misinterpretation. This is the truth she has waited 21 years to tell. A truth that has been obscured by media spin and public assumption for far too long. There is no embellishment here. The story is as direct as it can be. Sharon Stone's divorce was the result of a long process of neglect, betrayal, and public humiliation. Every factor, from the catastrophic stroke that nearly ended her life, to the brutal court moments and the repeated rejections by an industry that had once celebrated her, led inexorably to that final, irrevocable decision. She has opened up about the trauma she went through and the tough decision she had to make. We hope that she heals completely. She deserves to be happy again. This has been the full, unfiltered story of why Sharon Stone divorced her ex-husband, as confirmed 21 years later. Everything, from the devastating health crisis and the painful custody battle to the unmistakable betrayal in both private life and the court, has been presented perfectly well. Thank you for following one of Hollywood's most talked-about divorces. Watch our next video, and please like, comment, and subscribe to stay updated on more detailed stories from the world of entertainment.